This year I worked on all of these sketchbooks. Yes, I'm pretty impressed too. That's like a lot. These are the ones that I finished, so today I thought we could have a look through some of my favourite pieces, the way that my art maybe has changed throughout the year, and just have a little bit of a recap. So if we start with January, I started the year focusing mainly on landscapes. I did some gouache stuff, and I've really not used gouache since. This was kind of how I went into January. It was mostly landscapes. I did some kind of animals as well, but I just didn't know what I enjoyed, what my style was. Gouache, I really haven't done many at all since then. So this entire year, I've really not done much gouache whatsoever. Late last year, I made this portrait, and that kind of opened the door for me to make more. This was following a tutorial by Piper's Art, and after that, in January, I painted this in watercolour, and that was really the turning point that made me want to create more portraits. I did this portrait, which was only using 2 shades of blue, and I did this one, this was only using Moonglow. I did them for TikTok really, and that really opened the door for my portraits. This year I experimented with lots of different style portraits. I made this line art piece which combined like a loose watercolour portrait with a load of white lines on top, and I absolutely love this style. I actually made 4 of these. So this was the very first one, then I did this one, which I do also really love. And finally I made these 2. This was about August, I think. And I think this is one of those moments where just because you repeat the same kind of thing, it doesn't mean that you've improved. I don't think these pieces are necessarily even better than the first one, but these ones I did on the same day. I did them a lot faster and I was a lot more comfortable. I wanted to try out different things. A lot of the time, there's that kind of feeling that if you practice something over and over again, you're going to improve, but honestly, that's not the case. Sometimes if you practice something over and over again, it just leads you to be more comfortable and be able to create it faster, and that was definitely the case here. I did this one in gouache. It's my first ever portrait in gouache, and I don't think I've done any since. It was definitely interesting. I tried out a more kind of realistic style, and I also tried out this kind of very different style, and I love both of them, and honestly, this just led me to be more confused. And even now looking at them, there's so many different styles of portraits that I tried, and I genuinely don't know which way to go for my art style. Although I've tried lots of different things, I thought my art style would kind of just hit me, and it didn't. I also did this portrait, which I absolutely love, but nobody else really loved it as much as I did. I thought I was close to my art style here, but I'm honestly not sure. I do like the pencil line work and I do like the eyes. After I did these portraits, I decided that I wanted to do a load of noses and mouths and just practice certain areas. I also did some eyes. Here's some eyes. I do really like the top one. I wanted to practice different facial features to try and improve before trying to figure out my own style. Another thing that I explored with this sketchbook were these bodies. I absolutely love the style, and I've never done anything like this before whatsoever. This one I actually turned into a sticker. I upped the vibrancy because sometimes stickers come quite flat, and this one didn't. It looks amazing, but it's very, very colourful. I made these bodies as well, and I really love this style, but this made me realise that I need to practice anatomy. Something very big this year is I got my very first pencil sketchbook. I've had a few when I was a child, but I've just never actually stuck with them and finished them. I've been using watercolour because that's something that I want to improve with, but honestly, as much as I want to improve with watercolour, I need to improve my sketches to improve my watercolour, if that makes sense. I basically realised that as much as I want my watercolour to be good and to create good paintings, to have a clear art style, I need to perfect the sketch that's underneath, because if the sketch isn't good, the portrait isn't going to be good. So that's the main reason that I got this sketchbook. I managed to finish it in 4 months. It's really small, but I've really loved this addition to my sketchbooks. I can't believe I forgot. I have an entire sketchbook that I didn't even add at the beginning. This one is mostly plein air, so I thought we could go through the plein airs that I've done this year. I've actually painted outside 14 times this year, which I'm really happy with. That's just over 1 a month, although the months are very spread out. This is January. It was absolutely freezing. I've done some really simple ones, but this is the style that I started with at beginning of the year. There's some that I am really happy with, but it's just so difficult where I live because it's generally so cold. I've only been painting outside for just over a year, but I've really got my confidence up with it. If people happen to see me, I don't get like scared like I used to. It's completely fine, you know. A lot of people do generally want to look, and I've kind of got used to that. Out of every form of creating, I find painting outside the most fun, and I feel like you learn so much from just an hour. This one I've actually recorded for YouTube, and I really need to edit it because it's such a different video and it's literally like painting outside, but I'm really excited for that one. This was my first one trying a building as well. And that's it. Generally, I've been doing quite a lot over the summer, but it's just so cold in the winter that it's really not fun. Even though it's 14 that I've done, it's very skewed. I mentioned earlier that gouache has not been going well for me. I created this one, which looks really quite nice to look at, apart from the background that's quite patchy. How difficult it was to create it. I have loads like that. I also created these two, which I've put wax on to stop it from transferring, and they look so simple, but they were so difficult to create. I've never found gouache easy to use. I've only painted with it about 6 times this year, but I find it so difficult. The other issues with gouache I had were I tried to create 7 Billie Eilishes. I used the exact same photo, and I tried to do it in different styles and mediums to see if I could try and find my art style, and I did these two in gouache, and this one especially, it just did not work. I think the issue that I had was there was a little bit of black on the palette. It had obviously been mixed with something, so then when I automatically mixed it, it really just could not get rid of the black. I don't like to use black in watercolour. I don't use black, but I did try and use it here, and it just did not really work. The other issue that I found is I was using zinc white. I was using a mixing white, and I really struggled to get any kind of opacity with it. So gouache is definitely a learning curve, and I need to do more of it, but I have unfortunately limited the amount of gouache that I do because it's also not light fast, so I can't really create very good originals with it. So that's why I've kind of moved past gouache. I don't know if I did any others really following that. No, that obviously I did a couple of little cactuses, but that had obviously kind of scarred me because I didn't do any more for like the rest of the year. Okay, very important things to talk about. I participated in 2 art challenges this year. I did the 100 Heads challenge and I did Inktober. This sketchbook is actually massive. I did Inktober, and because it has 62 pages, it's only half full. It was crazy, but because I did Inktober and I wanted to have the planning on the other side, I needed the sketchbook to be at least like 32 pages, and it's really difficult to find that, so I got this absolutely massive one. The 100 Heads I did do in 10 days. It was exhausting. I don't know if I would do it again, but I'll show you some of my favourites. I absolutely love this one. The page looks really cool together, but this one really opened my eyes to doing like a slightly sort of less realistic face. I really like it. I'm really happy with how this one turned out as well. That's a little bit closer to the style that I've been doing. I do really like these as well. I think this is a really cool page. This was the last day. I think the hardest part of the 100 Heads challenge is that I don't think I created anything incredible. I don't think I created anything amazing. I worked hard for 10 days and everything is pretty decent. Inktober, I really love Eagle. There's a few that I really love in here. I am really proud of myself for finishing both art challenges. They were the 2 key ones that I wanted to do this year. Oh, I really like this one. This one looks a little bit like a tattoo. I think it's so cool. This one is really cool as well. I'm happy with that. I have the entire Inktober tour on my challenge, and I have every single day of Inktober on my channel as well. It was absolutely crazy, but I did it. I've made a few originals that are up on my website as well, but a lot of this year was just sketchbook work, really. There we go. These are all the sketchbooks that I worked on this year, but mostly it was trying to figure out what I do and don't like, and I like quite a lot, and it's really hard to figure out what my art style might be. I think it's portraits. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this next week in my 2023 art goals video, so I would love if you could subscribe so that you don't miss that one. I hope you enjoyed having a little look through some of the art that I've created this year. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely New Year's, and I will see you in 2023. Bye bye.